Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today, we're going to be talking about the newest album from Luke Bryan, titled Kill the Lights. At some point, we're going to need to ask the question how it came to all this. At some point, musical historians are going to look back at Bro Country and its questionable legacy and ask how on God's green earth we let this happen. And inevitably, the focus will swivel over to Luke Bryan, who's arguably profited the most from this trend by being on the A-list talent who rode Bro Country to the very top, partially through his series of Spring Break mixtapes, and partially through hauling in so many of the songwriters who become staples of the genre behind the scenes. And hell, some of them even got full-time careers. But about midway through his fourth single, dropping from his 2013 album Crash My Party, which I didn't exactly like, I came to the realization that music in a Luke Bryan concert functionally irrelevant. The fans probably couldn't care less that the album production was increasingly synthetic, or that Bryan himself was writing fewer and fewer songs with each album, or that his subject matter was a grab bag of country cliches rattled off with obnoxious efficiency, because it wasn't about the individual songs or the increasingly haphazard albums. Nope, it was about the image and the flash and the live show experience. Luke Bryan on stage and shaking his ass to get all the girls screaming. In other words, this isn't even that new, especially even country music. What Luke Bryan did in 2013, 2014, Billy Ray Cyrus did in 1992, and history repeats itself yet again, for better or in most cases for worse. And thus, on some level, reviewing this album is pointless. To those who have turned on Bro Country, Luke Bryan is everything wrong with modern country, while to his fans, he's everything right with it. And the latter's presence mean that this album, it's guaranteed to sell, probably top the charts, probably beat out Dr. Dre. But as somebody who has always held the belief that Bro Country can be done right, and somebody kind of fascinated by the slow-moving train wreck that I predict many will consider Luke Bryan's career in a decade, or a few years from now, I figure I might as well cover Kill the Lights. After all, he did discontinue his Spring Break series of mixtapes, considering he's turning 40 next year, not a bad decision, and considering he wrote 6 of the new album songs in comparison with the 2 he wrote on Crash My Party, I had reason to believe this might be marginally better. Was I right? Nope, I was wrong. If anything, Kill the Lights is worse than Crash My Party and easily one of the most painfully weak country albums that I've heard thus far this year. That, of course, provided you can call this country at all, which might be entirely too generous to this overproduced slop that doesn't even have the good sense to dive into the country cliches, even the bro country cliches, which Luke Bryan can at least make kind of work. All of this leads to a profoundly confused mess of an album that will end up topping the charts this week because the money-making machine that is the Luke Bryan industry at this point is too big to fail that hard, even as the wheels are starting to come off the bro country 4x4. And you know what's so infuriating? The fact that so much of this isn't entirely Luke Bryan's fault, because he's still a good country singer. As much as I don't like his music, I can still respect him as a vocalist with considerable power, a fair amount of charisma, and expressive presence. And when you give him songs with real melancholy or demand a little bit of charm or drama, he's capable of pulling it off. Of course, that same expressiveness can backfire when he's required to play the alpha male douchebag, which causes songs like Kick the Dust Up and Move and Home Alone Tonight, the last of which features Karen Fairchild of Little Big Town on autopilot at best. She does not sound good here. They'd be absolutely execrable in their obnoxious mugging. But you know what? Bryan is capable of sincerity. Hell, Love It Gone, it's clumsy, and To the Moon and Back, it might offer a simple love song template that both Dierks Bentley and Brad Paisley have done better with that sort of production, but Luke Bryan can make these songs work. They're not bad songs. Hell, even the recycled country pandering of Huntin', Fishin', and Lovin' Every Day, and on Scarecrows, the album closer, is at least marginally believable, even if the writing is not anything all that special. And on the subject of writing, this is another area where this album stumbles hard. And it's most unlistenable, it's Luke Bryan running through the 3rd and 4th iteration of Country Girl Shake It For Me with Kick the Dust Up and that god-awful song Move. But then we've got Home Alone Tonight, which features a club hookup between Bryan and Fairchild that then has them snapping photos of each other and sending them to their respective exes for no adequately explained reason. No sense of melancholy or regret or anger or sadness or even resignation. It's just a song about taking petty selfies and doing shots, because that's apparently attractive. Granted, when we get that breakup song on this album, Just Over, Luke Bryan doesn't seem to have an iota of what actually happened when this woman dumped him. It is behind the same cluelessness behind Strip It Down, which has him wanting to throw this girl's phone on the floor and shatter it, or think that stripping it down is sexy and not a carpentry term for redoing your house. Now, to be fair, there are points where the writing can kind of work. The love song To the Moon and Back, it's genuinely sweet. Razorblade writes from a second person about a temptress. It's mostly passable and it avoids the obvious moral lesson. And Way Back takes the bro country template and applies it to hooking up with an old ex in a way that mostly works. As I said, bro country can be done well and that's a good song. But I've danced around this for far too long. The production on this album is god awful, partially because the mix balance and instrumental texture is completely mishandled, but more because this album has no goddamn clue what it wants to be. Part of this is indicative of a compositional issue that's plagued Luke Bryan's albums for years now, and then he tends to oversaturate his worst bro country tracks with minor key progressions that sour an otherwise positive vibe. But it runs deeper than that. Does this album want to go for the gentler, adult contemporary brand of country belonging to Blake Shelton and Chris Young? Is looking for the heavier, borderline country rock bro country approach? Is looking for that spacey, synth touch vibe of Dierks Bentley and Brad Paisley, what they're trying to do? Does it want the stiff, metropolitan sound of a Sam Hunt album with choppy guitars and banjos being the only thing that make it remotely country thanks to the incredibly awkward marriage of drum machines and some actual drums? At this point, I don't even think Luke Bryan knows the answer, because he tries all of them here and it's a disaster in terms of cohesion. Mostly because in the meantime, he completely forgot that you need a real groove or bass line to have foundation and body to these melodies beyond the drum machines. Provided, of course, you can hear the melodies at all through the cymbals, which sound painfully muddy and cranked up way too high in the mix to the point where the weedy, oily electric guitars feel undercut and underserved. I won't give it that many points to a song like Strip It Down thanks to the cavernous production and the choppy drum machines trying to retread the rotten ground that Jason Aldean already covered with Burn It Down, but at least the pianos came through with something of a hook that really stuck with you. The amazing thing is that for all the styles that I described earlier, Luke Bryan's production fails across the board. If you're going for adult contemporary, so many of these songs feel tepid and mid-tempo and lacking in warmth or fun thanks to all the minor chord progressions, only really sticking with the gentle or fast or maybe Love It Gone. And yet on the bro country front, none of these songs have a thick enough driving groove or any sense of flow, with maybe the exception of Way Way Back. Go to the more synth-driven sound, you quickly realize the Hammond organ that he brings in, it's not a solid replacement for steel guitar and real fiddles, adding texture but not actual body to a mix that desperately needs it. Sure, tracks like Just Over kind of work with the guitar melody lifted straight from Talk by Coldplay. Hell, even if we go straight to the percussion over melody land of modern pop country, the melodies really have any sticking power, given any sort of real prominence in the mix. Well, it's because the guitar tones are so thin and choppy. The prime example being the title track, which aside from playing to disturbingly familiar chord progressions of That's My Kind of Night, it decides to feature these verses that import from a plinking disco tune and drowns the guitar and reverb. Sorry, Zac Brown Band did this first and they did it a lot better. But you know what? Even if I do with what I did for the Zac Brown Band and pitch genre conventions completely out the window, this still isn't good music. And frankly, I'm stunned Luke Bryan isn't shelling out for better producers. He could probably afford them by now. These songs are not intended for the studio. They're for a full backing band and a live show where you actually have a drum kit behind you. You don't need to worry much about the vocals topping out, which they do way too many times on this record, another production problem. But even in that case, so much of this material feels recycled and lacking in lyrical ideas, searching wildly for anything poignant or heartfelt and frequently falling completely flat. Only saved by the fact that Luke Bryan is a decent performer, unlike weaker contemporaries like Cole Swindle or Chase Rice. But even still, this is a 4 out of 10 and definitely not recommended. And I hate to go for the easy target here, he did set it up, but when Luke Bryan describes himself and his connection to his roots as like a scarecrow, makes me wonder if either he or any of his 27 co-writers and producers could have used a brain on this album. Just saying. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, I'd be very happy to give them a listen. Just not more like this. This sucked. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.